Welcome back to another episode of Positive Solutions for Life. This is Peggy Meyer, and today's guest is Nicole Roe. Nicole is a tastemaker, authentic lifestyle creator, and founder of Nickson Interiors, a boutique design firm known for bold, elevated spaces that actually work for real life. With over 15 years of experience in construction and design, Nicole blends technical know-how with creative vision to bring her clients' personalities to life in their homes, creating spaces that are functional, personal, and undeniably beautiful. So, welcome to the podcast, Nicole.
Thank you, Peggy. I'm really excited to be talking with you today.
Oh, I'm excited for our conversation because I feel like, this is something that's, maybe just not so normal in my, podcast episodes, but I really feel like we could pull out some of this transformation in a unique way. So, can you start the conversation by just sharing just a little bit more about you, your personal journey, and how it has led to where you are today?
Yes, of course. So I've always been someone that was, affected by my surroundings, from a young child. Like I remember, my childhood bedroom. I remember sterile classrooms, all of these things that, as an adult, you look back and you realize, oh, that was telling me something. Fast forward to college and, did not do well in dorm life, got my own apartment, painted every room, spent time at IKEA, like really made my space my own.
Mhm.
But I knew it was more than that. But I never, could quite put a finger on it because I didn't know the depth of interior design. I didn't really know what it was beyond paint colors, beyond pillows, beyond a few decorators that I had kind of known in my childhood. I did not realize how deep it went. And I was in college, started out as an engineer, quickly pivoted into the world of construction, which, once again, looking back, construction is, the world of interior design on a very broad level, but I loved how construction allowed for the start to finish. You got to go from conception and dream all the way to a finished result. And there's not a lot of careers or jobs that do that.
Mhm.
And I was really drawn to that, but I was also just drawn to the transformation in general and how little decisions made a huge impact. Fast forward a little bit longer, I had a great internship with a luxury developer who hired an interior design firm. And that was really my first, like, light bulb moment. Like, this is a career, this is a thing.
Mhm.
Called my dad, said I was going to dual enroll in SCAD. That never happened. That would have been insanely expensive. But I took that moment to take every class I could on interiors and art and color theory and progressed with the world, but always realizing that our surroundings affect us so much.
Yes, yes. And I want to dive into that because, like, how do they affect us? I mean, I know you started talking about, oh, like sterile classrooms, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember like everybody has the same desk and not everybody fits the same desk and like the colors and all of those things. But those impact our mental state, our emotional state. So can you dive, like, what did you learn about some of that as you were, diving into this new kind of exploration for you, but you knew kind of that's what it was, but now it's a formal sense.
I mean, if you look at it broadly, you go into a fast food restaurant, the lights are bright, it's red, it's yellow, they want you in and out quickly.
Mhm.
Then you go to a more formal restaurant and the lights are lower on the tables, the walls are richer, the seating's comfortable. Like right there, that's just showing like how the human brain works.
Yeah.
And take that into someone's home, you can use the same concepts.
Mhm.
Flattering lighting. Like we joke as a design firm that your recessed lightings on your ceilings are meant for like cleaning. If someone drops an earring, someone loses a tooth, like there shouldn't be any reason for you to actually turn those on a daily basis. That's what lamps are for. That's what, wall sconces are for. That is
Mhm.
what, that flattering. lighting is for because that is like what our eyes need. And take paint colors, for example,
Mhm,
like my office behind me. The majority of the time I use my office is the morning and the evening. I
mhm,
wanted something soothing, something relaxing because, I have a design studio in town and that's where we do the daytime work. That's where, we need all of that. But I
mhm,
think people's homes need to really think through their spaces and their color palettes and their lighting
mhm.
just as an initial. Like those couple things make a huge difference.
Right, right. And how do you pull that out of people? Because it's like, some of us are like, okay, I think I can put some colors together, but sometimes people are just like, I don't really know what to do with this room. It just doesn't feel right. It's like, how do you help pull that out so people can actually feel comfortable in their spaces?
One of the first things we like to do is figuring out, are they a low contrast? Beige on beige, white on white. Are they a middle contrast, like medium contrast or high contrast? Some people do love that stark black and white, navy and cream, where a
Mhm,
majority of people, myself included, I'm a medium contrast. I
mhm,
am most comfortable in a room that has the variances, but isn't super bland, but also isn't like, what is my eye supposed to look at? These hard lines I find very harsh. And I think
mhm,
the
mhm,
second step of it is, how will you actually use this room?
mhm,
How are you going to use this space?
mhm,
There's nothing worse than, that formal living room that people sit in once a year. We really want to dive into like, what can we put in here that makes you, your family, your friends want to come into the space?
mhm,
And then
mhm,
third is, how do we, include you in the space? Like, what do you love to do? What are your collections? Where do you travel? What are some things that when your family and friends come in, the room tells a story?
mm. Yeah, that's interesting because yeah, what is that room trying to tell somebody? That story of like, who is this person? Like, what kind of person are they? Is it inviting? Is it like, hey, or is it going to be like that fast food restaurant, like, well, we like to have friends over, but not very long, like, or is it that family gathering where everybody just kind of lays around and sits around and enjoys each other's company?
And that is so true. And I think it's really taking a deep dive with the client, but also self-reflection, right? Like, how do you really want to live? Like, how do you see your life 10 years from now? And take personal brands. We all have a personal brand now. The personal brands on the internet, it's on social media, it's in the clothes you wear, the cars you drive. Your
Mhm.
personal brand is there, but so many people don't take it that additional step into their home.
That's interesting. That's interesting. How do you, when you work with people, do you like, what's the transformation like? Because a lot of times the color, the look of something, it does tell a story, but it also sends out some messages of like feelings wise. So how does that like resonate with some of your clients?
So often they'll walk in, at the end of a project and, kind of like how we were saying, like they take that deep breath. They're
Yeah.
able to breathe, their heart rate kind of goes back to normal because they realize like this is now their safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And
Hmm.
safety obviously means difference to everyone, but when a room is complete and you have the rugs and the furniture and the window treatments and everything's kind of done, and you can step in and sit down and enjoy a cup of tea or, a glass of wine at the end of the night
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
just relax,
Yeah.
then that's what we're striving for. That's what we want. We want it to feel like their home that they can be at peace in.
Yeah, yeah, because we do. I mean, the world is crazy enough on the outside. If we're running around with work and, all
Yes.
the activities and stuff, we need a space that we can just kind of unwind in. And do you find that, is there certain things about like a bedroom? I'm thinking like a bedroom to like be able to calm down after a busy day, a hectic day, and get some rest. What are some tips for a bedroom?
Yes, I mean, it goes back to the lighting, bringing the lighting down, keeping it warm, deciding what paint color you want your bedroom to be. There's two different ways to look at it. You could go darker because you want that darker, moody. You want to sit in bed and read at night and have to be kind of like enclosed in that
Hmm.
darkness. Or some people like a light and airy bedroom because they want it when they wake up in the morning. They want the, draperies to open and they want it to be light and bright, which is also great. But
Hmm.
I think it's going a little bit further. Bedrooms, yes, there's bedding. Yes, there's, you have your duvet inserts and your pillows. Obviously, you need the rug, but including upholstery, an upholstered bench at the end. Maybe it's an upholstered bed. Like layering these softness and these
Mhm,
textures and these fabrics is super important because you already have, you have the dresser, you have the side tables, you have things that are hard in the room,
mhm, mhm,
but also hidden storage in a bedroom to me is huge because when you're sitting in bed, you don't need to look at clutter. You
yeah.
don't need to look at things on a dresser. You don't, I mean, we all have that closed chair, that half worn pile that we've like laid out, the stuff from the day before on.
Yep.
But even if you don't think it's bothering you while you're sitting there at night, your brain is taking in all of these things, to-do list, what hasn't been done.
Mhm.
And that can be really challenging.
Yeah, yeah, and so I think it's just a unique way of looking at things because we don't really understand sometimes how things affect us,
Yeah.
and having, spaces that are, soothing and calming and, clutter-free, because that is, that sometimes people don't understand when you walk into a room and they just have this energy and they don't understand is it like a lot of times it's clutter. It could be mismatched, vibes from a color, the color paint kind of scheme or whatever. But to have something that is calming and soothing when you need to be calming and soothing, and it doesn't match very well, oh, that's just going to be like something that's irritating all the time. So, really that people need to take advantage of just understanding how they feel when they walk into a room and creating that space. And so these tips are so helpful because sometimes, that clutter, that I'm like, we can walk in kids' rooms. And oh my gosh, that would just it throws me off. I would just like not even go into my kids' room. Yeah, I'll tuck them in, but I don't know how you live there some days. I don't know if you have that experience.
But I think with children as well, like they sleep better when their room has been
Mhm,
tidied. They may not say that, but I know it. I have four young boys.
mhm,
And when we've done, that Sunday reset where all the dirty clothes and Legos are picked up and books are put away, we've changed the sheets and their room is clean and tidy.
yeah,
They want to be in there. They want to read books. They want to go to sleep and they're not stepping on Legos as they're walking across their room or,
yeah,
somehow there's four pairs of shorts on the floor and 27 socks and it's only been, 2 days. Like,
yeah,
but they respond to it. So it's getting them to see the importance of it. But
mhm,
honestly, I also just go in there and I'll do a quick 15-minute pull together when I know they've had a rough day or we've
mhm.
had a long week and they need that reset as well.
Yeah. And so that's just a good reminder for us as well is, sometimes we put off things and we just need to take 10 or 15 minutes to tidy up our space. Look at our work desk, look at our kitchen. What's the first thing you look at when you walk into your house after a day? I really feel like that like affects my emotional state is like, is it, oh, this looks good. Or, "Oh, crap, I just reminded of all the things that I didn't get done." And that's just a little bit overwhelming. So we have to really pay attention to our space and our environment and how we're leaving it because it really does affect us. I wanna switch a little bit there was a couple things I wanted to pull out of your bio that I was just like, tastemaker. First thing I think about is cooking, but that's not not exactly what we're talking about, and being authentic. So if can you talk on those 2 things?
I think that being a designer, one of my biggest like attributes is pulling the client's best self out, giving them permission to be their best self. Who do they
Mhm,
want to become? How do they want to live? But not how their neighbor lives or, their friend lives, but really who are they? What do they love?
mhm,
What can we do to just amplify their life? And yes, we're interior designers, but honestly, the transformations we do in people's homes or offices, it does just that. And we've
mhm,
seen it firsthand where people come into it timid and uneasy and kind of unknowing. And at the end, they're striding through that house, they're put together, they're well dressed, they're excited, they're showing their spaces
mhm,
because they needed someone to give them that permission to be authentic, someone to give them permission to say, yes, that art is awesome. Yes, we can have that collection of, rugs you got in Morocco or whatever it is. But sometimes people, they have it in them. They really do. They just don't feel safe pulling it out or they're not ready and they need us to help them with that.
Yeah, because I really do that permission to be able to say, this is actually my style.
Yes.
Because hey, if I go out there to all those stores and go to, and look around and like, oh, I want some new decorations for this room. And then you're seeing somebody else's style. And I'm like, doesn't really fit, but you bring it and it just really doesn't fit. And
Well,
it
the
doesn't make
human
it right.
brain is conditioned to like, and I'm using air quotes,
Right, right,
on a
yeah.
podcast, what they keep seeing. So if
Mhm,
you've been looking through a Pottery Barn catalog, a restoration hardware catalog, if you've been
mhm,
on Pinterest and at one point you Googled a certain type of backsplash tile, those algorithms and those catalogs are going to tell your brain that, oh, maybe I do like farmhouse. Oh, maybe I do like sleek and modern. When that's not actually true, you just keep seeing it. So you do run into Home Goods or Target because you need a little dopamine hit of, some accessories. And you're buying what you think you like and
mhm.
not actually what you really like.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really, your job to kind of pull that out of giving that permission to that client to and just to really understand how they want to use the space. What is them? What feels real to them to be able to put together a space that they will enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is so incredible, like, what were kind of some tips of people that are like, "Okay, well, I don't really have an interior design. I can't necessarily get Nicole. Nicole's gonna be really busy now," So, what are some tips for people that you could give to people that, like, would help, pull that out of themselves and check whether this space is working for them or not?
I think first is, do you use the space? And
Mhm,
really figuring out why you don't. Do you not use it because it's not comfortable to sit in? Do you not use it because there's not a table for you to set your laptop on? Do you not use it because there's not enough seating for your entire family? Like, what is the reason you do
mhm,
not go into that space? And second, like you said before, clear out the clutter. Clear out everything you don't like. Like
mhm,
that is kind of a get rid of the cheap stuff, get rid of the stuff that was gifted to you 20 years ago, that you never actually liked, but you had a spot on your shelf for. And it's kind of clearing that back and
mhm,
starting at the basics.
mhm,
Maybe you go find a great rug.
yeah,
Maybe you found some awesome vintage side chairs. Like,
mhm,
or you went to an art show and there was this killer piece of art that you never thought you would like, but you were
mhm,
drawn to it.
mhm,
Buy those one or two things, put them in the room, and then let it evolve from there.
mhm,
Let those be kind of your North Star.
uh-huh.
And as you layer, it's going to be things you love because they now everything needs to, stand up to the things you've already put in the space.
Right, right. Yeah, it's really important to kind of dig in and just, be your true self, like really understand like what it is. I know I've remodeled every house I've ever lived in and redecorate, painted is the first thing that I usually do. And then there's some spaces where you say, yeah, it's like, why don't I go down there? Like we have, now, we had a basement and I was like, nobody really wanted to go down there. Like it was awful. So, okay, let's redo it. How would we like the space to be? And we need to pull that out because, like you said earlier, what caught my eye or caught my ear was a little bit of like you can strut around your house a little bit differently when you're comfortable in it, and it comes out in how you present yourself. And
I
so,
agree. I think it's in everything we do. Yes, Zoom calls, you see the backgrounds and whatnot, but
mhm,
being able to walk through your house and see that piece of art you got on vacation and smile, or even a
mhm,
bowl of seashells and crystals that you got, at one of those cheesy gem mining
yeah,
places, like with your kids, or a couple photographs, on a table in a nice frame. The coffee table books. Once you get to a point where you're like liking everything around you, it
mhm,
really does lift you up. But I
yeah,
think thinking through those empty rooms, like what space would bring your family joy? Is it a home gym? Is it a theater room? Is it a library? Like,
mhm,
what things, they don't have to be expensive. Can you
yeah,
kind of transition a room into where that's where people want to go at the end of the day, or that's where they want to go in the morning?
yeah. Yeah, and it's so true, and you find where people want to congregate, and those spaces, I feel like, pay attention. How do people like to walk in that room, and what can you, update a little bit? Because sometimes the furniture is not that comfortable, even though they want to be in that space. They like kind of just deal with it, So yeah, let's bring out for people the ability to create a space that's going to be so transforming their mindset and their emotions to be able to be their best self. You're pulling out their best self, but the ideas of what they really want. So this is just really a good combination of how we live that, because our environment is a lot of how our emotions are and our mental state are. So taking that and being able to design or at least put together a room that's comfortable for us. So we really appreciate how can people find out a little bit more about you, about maybe just some of the things that you do and just in general and about some of those, interior design tips.
Yeah, no, of course. So I am Nicole Roe, founder of R like the letter Nickson, Nickson Interiors, and we are located in Central Florida. We take on projects across the country, both, in person and virtually. And, we're on all the social channels, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn. We have a YouTube channel as well that we really walk through our projects.
Mm,
Consultations are great. We love to say that consultations, especially virtual ones, give permission. It's
yeah,
back to that. We're giving you permission to transform your space. We're giving you the confidence to do it. We're here to answer your questions. Like, we would love to tackle, every project that we
yeah.
can, but it's just the nature of
Mhm.
the world. But I think really just taking a look at who you are, what you love, and what you want to put out in the world is such a great first step. So I'm excited to connect. I have my own podcast as well, which you're going to laugh at the title. It's Highly Affected by Her Surroundings. We're about to kickstart season 2 in the next couple weeks, but same thing. We really go into the conversations of scent is a big one. Lighting
Yeah.
is another. Vacations, kind of some other industries that also have the ability to really kind of transform us as humans.
Yes, yes. Oh, that is so interesting. I'll definitely get that and put all of that in the show notes so that people can easily just find out more about you and your podcast and all of that. So, as we wrap up today, Nicole, is there something that you left unsaid or something that you feel like the listeners really need to hear, and just leave them with?
Yes, I would say don't be overwhelmed.
Mhm,
Start small. Start in your entry. Start in a powder bath. Start in a sitting area. And as you evolve that individual space, see
mhm,
how it snowballs. See how it snowballs with everyone in your family
mhm.
because it can become addictive and it really is special. And your home should be this authentic space for you and your family.
Yes, a comfortable place where everybody wants to come and just hang out and relax at the end of the day. And we don't realize how much our environment does affect us, and it really does. So take time to evolve your space, sit in it, get some help. Go listen to Nicole's podcast and, look at some of her pictures and, maybe even getting a consultation with her to be able to pull out what you need in your space because it does affect us mentally, emotionally, and physically. So thank you so much for joining me today, Nicole. It has been a pleasure.